Well, the season is upon us. The season, as they often say in Jane Austen, the social season, which is not really accurate because in New York it's always the season. But it seems like in the last month I've been invited to a bunch of things in the evening that require getting dressed up. And the other morning when I was ironing something specifically, and I had the thought that, oh, this is something that I've really enjoyed, this little thing, and I would love to share that and to spread it, and for other people to enjoy this little thing. The little thing is a handkerchief. Prior to Kleenex, disposable things that you would wipe your face with or you blow your nose in, everyone carried a handkerchief. It was just a common thing. And the origin of the handkerchief supposedly goes back to ancient times, which makes sense. Little squares of linen or cotton way back to ancient Egypt and ancient Greece, supposedly. These were being used. Handkerchiefs were used as like a practical thing to wipe away sweat and to wipe tears, blow your nose in. But over time, they developed other sort of meaningful practices associated with handkerchiefs, like flirting and status symbols. Certain fabrics and colors would be associated with certain people, and I don't actually know the in-depth history of handkerchiefs, but I'm sure many of you do, so please leave comments and tell me. What I will say is that on my antiquing hunts, going through linen, like boxes of linens, drawers of linens in vintage stores and antique stores, antique malls, when I'm looking for things like napkins or tablecloths, or even sheets, like old linen sheets, I very often come across hankies that were never ever used. They're like pristine. And over the years, I have picked up hankies here and there, the ones that have really spoken to me, and I use them. So I actually do something that is a faux pas. I use a hanky as a pocket square in my suit, which is something you're not supposed to do. So the origin of the actual breast pocket, it's not that old, like maybe 200 years max. And it developed from men needing places to put things, because they stopped carrying around bags and purses like hundreds of years. We're talking hundreds and thousands of years. The evolution of men's clothing dictated that pockets were needed to hold things. And supposedly the breast pocket was developed to actually hold a hanky, to keep it like clean away from everything else in the other pockets. So originally, what would have gone in here was something practical that you would pull out and use. But over time, coming to present day, the pocket square is a decorative piece of cloth that is a square, that is an accessory for a man's suit, anyone wearing a suit really. And this is just a personal thing. This is not a criticism of anyone else. I don't like the idea of sticking something in my pocket, my breast pocket, that's just purely decorative. I usually just don't put anything in there. If I do feel like making the outfit a bit more formal, a bit dressier, I will put a hanky in there. And some of the hankies that I have are actually really, really fancy. So I'm going to show you my hanky. This is actually my tie box. So I have a box that I have labeled ties. And so I keep my sort of accessories in here. I have my ties in there, and then over here I have bandanas and hankies on this side over here, and a couple of pocket squares, admittedly. And then there are some random things in here that have no other place to go, which I do consider accessories, like the bling from that I wore in Mean Girls. Kevin G's big necklace and bracelets, which the prop guy was not supposed to give me, but he let me keep them. So these are very precious souvenirs from my days as a movie star. Now I'm just a washed up movie star. And in here, oh yeah, in here, look, one fell out. I also have some cufflinks. So, getting back to the point, hankies. These are my hankies here that I have acquired over the years. And then here's one. The only pocket square I have is a pink silk pocket square. This is an actual pocket square. You would not blow your nose with this. This is meant solely for the pocket. And this has survived all the Marie Kondos because I really do love this thing. And I have worn it a couple of times, just a couple, actually to Mean Girls related events when pink was a color that was extremely appropriate. But going back to the hankies, I'm going to show you some that I have had and just actually used as a hanky that I've kept in my like trouser pockets. So here is a beautiful thin white hanky, and this is vintage with a pattern that is woven in to the border and a hand rolled edge. So that edge was rolled and stitched by hand. And this is the sort of thing that I'm talking about, which is very, you can find these and you can often find them inexpensively in antique malls because there were so many of these were made because they really were used like all through the 50s and 60s. And I think people still use them now. When I've been to India or Sri Lanka, I see older people constantly pulling out hankies. Usually they're plaid. Colored plaid hankies. So people still use them, but I don't see people in New York using them. There's this whole thing about them not being sanitary and washing them and blah, blah, blah. But I think this is a beautiful, wonderful thing to just have in your coat pocket, in your trouser pocket, in your bag, maybe your like work bag, because it's a beautiful thing. And it's a beautiful thing that's actually also practical. You never know when a little piece of cloth is going to come in handy. Today I was out on my bike and I got a little snack and there was nowhere to sit inside, so I went outside to sit and the bench had water all over it from the rain. And I had, not one of these, it's actually over there, a bandana. And I just wiped it. And it's wet and whatever, and I'll throw it in the wash and it'll dry. But no one else was sitting there because no one had anything to wipe it with. And yes, you can use paper towel and blah, blah, like all of that stuff. But this is all to say that the hanky is such a practical thing. And for a suit, so for my breast pocket, I have really fancy hankies like this one. I don't think this was ever meant to be used. I think this was, like I found this at an antique mall in Chicago, actually, a bunch of them, and they were like $3 each, and I bought 3 or 4 of them. It's all drawn work. And these hankies are often on very, very fine cotton or fine linen. This is a linen hanky. I just can't believe this. Like I cannot believe what this looks like. And this, I will just like gather up like this, and I'll put it in my breast pocket and the edges will stick out. And it's a beautiful little detail. I wouldn't blow my nose in this. I wouldn't wipe up sweat with this. Let me show you another one. This one I actually do like use. I've used this before. This is a very plain white linen hanky. It's so delicate and it has embroidery on the corners. And usually all this embroidery was done by hand. Okay, I'm going to show you another one. Look at this one. This is also drawn work. It's like a Kleenex. It's so delicate and it's so light and flimsy that it has no weight at all. And when it's all scrunched up, or even when it's folded, I mean, it takes up very little space. You really could put this in your trousers and you wouldn't even know it was there. Like when it's all folded up, well, yeah, there's something in here. Oh, there's a bit of old Kleenex. Huh? How did that get there? There. That's in there. Wouldn't even know. Okay, so there's one more that I want to show you. It's not here. Where is it? The one I want to show you. Oh, here it is. It has a monogram on it. And I've had hankies over the years that I've used so much with a monogram that eventually they kind of just fall apart and disintegrate, and then I get rid of them. But the monogrammed ones, this was a personalized hanky for someone with these initials. And these are actually my favorite because they feel so rooted to a moment in history. Like that was embroidered by hand. So what I do with these embroidered hankies, I actually iron all of these. I will wash them, I'll hang them up to dry and never put them in the dryer, and then I iron them. And they're so thin and delicate that they iron very quickly. So I press them. When I'm pressing a monogram, like whether it's on a hanky or a napkin or a pillowcase, the way to press the monogram is actually to put a terry cloth towel down on the ironing board, to place the monogram face down onto the towel, and to press the back. And what will happen when you put steam on the back, the monogram will get bumped like out into the towel. And when you lift it over, like you can see it's so beautifully raised off of the cloth after it's been pressed that way. It's a very, very satisfying thing. So if you have anything monogrammed or you acquire something monogrammed, now that I've shared this with you, that's how to iron them. So I am going to put my jacket on, and I'm going to probably put this, I love this so much, this lacy hanky in there. I also have sort of a cream, this is like a cool color. It's sort of grayish blue. It's white, but it has a tint of blue to it. And this I got at the same time. This one is sort of ivory and cream. And sometimes I'm surprised, like I'll just try both and I go with the ivory one, even though I thought I was going to go with the bluish one. So, okay, for a pocket square, there are a few ways of wearing a pocket square. I'm going to demonstrate now, actually. I always actually just put my jacket right on, and then I put the pocket square into the breast pocket. So like if I'm going out during the day and I have to wear a suit, I usually don't put anything in my pocket. I feel, just for me, I feel like it's too fancy. But this evening event is cocktail attire and it is fancy. So what I would do this in front of the mirror, so I can't really see right now. If I was using a white pocket square, a white hanky, as I said, faux pas, you're not really supposed to put a hanky in there. You're supposed to put in a piece of silk or cotton that's specifically a pocket square. But for me personally, I really love the idea that if I had to, like if I really needed to use it for something, for like wiping something, I could just pull it out of my breast pocket as it would have been a few, like 100 years ago or 200 years ago, whenever this started. So if I'm doing sort of a neat fold, I fold it to the width of the pocket. Let's see if this will fit. And then you just leave, and it has to be sort of perfectly folded. So this is still too wide. It has to be perfectly folded to the width of that pocket. And then I fold it into kind of a square like this, and it gets tucked in. I gotta use the mirror. It gets tucked in so that it stays flat, and you can really fuss pot around with this. And just a tiny bit, like a ½ inch, gets exposed. And sort of like that. I mean, I would work on this a little more. That's like the neat. That's like the neat fold. Okay. And then, oh, something, someone spilled something, someone's hand sticky. Oh, here, let me get that for you. I mean, also, these were used romantically. In Sense and Sensibility, the movie, there's a scene where I think it's Emma Thompson's crying, and Hugh Grant pulls out his hanky and gives it to her, and it has his initials on it, and then he tells her to keep it, and she falls in love with him, so she looks at that hanky. It's sort of like a piece of him, which, that is so romantic. Okay, so that's one way. Now, the way of putting it in kind of flourished and looser is I take the square and I actually pick it up off center. So this is the center of the square. I would pick it up like over here and then gather it up, and picking it up off center creates a sort of a staggered set of gathers. You want the higher gathers to be at the back, so closest to the body. I sort of fold this underneath so that there's an easy way for this to be inserted. This goes in, and then the direction of the points should point to my shoulder. Like, it shouldn't be just random. The elegance, the subtle elegance of this is when it's pointing that way, and it's kind of moving in that direction. So again, I use the mirror. This is not done properly. You saw what that looked like. That wasn't good. It should look like... Nope. And I do actually spend time doing this until it's right. There, that's better. Like that. So what do we think? That one or this one? Let's see here. No, not that one. This is also kind of a bit much. I don't know, it changes on my mood. Like, I put that in and I feel like it's too much for this. Let me try one other thing, and I know I'm going to be late for this. I was supposed to leave 10 minutes ago. I'm going to use this really delicate, this one. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's good. That's the one. So the thing that I love about these hankies is that they're little physically, literally, I hate using that word because it's always used, well, most often used incorrectly. It's overused. I was like literally standing on the sidewalk as opposed to figuratively standing on the sidewalk. Anyways, this is literally a piece of history, and carrying that with you in your pocket, whether it's seen or it's not seen, you know it's there. And on these magical New York nights, when I'm wearing something new, when I put my hand in my pocket and I happen to remind myself that there's a hanky in there, or I catch a glimpse of myself, there's something old. It is that wonderful thing about something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. It's pulling from the past. And these hankies were so ubiquitous that they're still everywhere, but they've been kind of forgotten about. And I like to use this analogy of they're sleeping. They're sleeping. They're new. They were unused, and then they ended up in an antique mall or a vintage shop in a little drawer waiting. It's sleeping, and it's waiting to be woken up. It's waiting to be woken up and enjoyed and appreciated. And really, I have never spent more than $5 on a hanky because I see them all the time. And if something's priced at $30, I just move on. So they can be beautiful, hand-embroidered hankies can be picked up for next to nothing. And I would love to encourage anyone out there who has an inkling of bringing this into their lives to do it. Find a hanky, just start carrying it around. And if you wear a suit, put it in a pocket that's where it's hidden, or put it in the breast pocket, and you'll see what I mean. It's a very special thing. Plain white hanky. Well, not a plain white hanky, but a traditional white hanky. Try it out and let me know what you think. I gotta go. He's gotta go.